Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Metaverse. I have my coffee. We are here doing a Q&A, and so if you just clicked in, there should be a chat below this video, and if you have any questions about cosplay or pretty much anything, sewing, even 3D printing. I don't know how well I can answer your questions on that, but if you have some, ask them and we will chat about it. So this is just a Q&A video. So like I said, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. So we have a couple right now. I'm going to go over these and I'll answer them the best I can. Just to put that out there, I am Jedimanda. Hello. I've been in the cosplay world since 2012, I think, which is wow, a while back. And I hope you guys enjoyed my masterclass episodes that I did this past week on beginning sewing and getting into cosplay. So let's get into the questions because some of them are actually pretty good and I might take a while to answer, but I will do my best to put this all in a fancy half-an-hour bucket for you guys. So the first question comes from Silver Ravens, and she asks, how did you get into cosplay? Two-parter question, I see. So it's actually pretty interesting. I got into cosplay a little different than most people. I actually went to school for fine art and I did portrait painting. And with that, I created my own outfits for my models to wear. And from that, I learned how to sew with the theater department, especially in costuming and costume design. So I started working in theater at school in costume design and was just really, really liked it. And I got a couple jobs out of school in costume design as well. But I got to a point to where I really liked making costumes for myself. And I wanted to wear the stuff that I was making for the actors and dancers that I was producing stuff for. And so I tried to find other ways to wear costumes besides just Halloween. One of my favorite places to wear costumes were midnight premieres of movies. So my first non-Halloween costume was actually a full crossplay of Darth Maul for the 3D release of The Phantom Menace. For those of you who remember that, it was really cool. And from that, I think the next year was 2012, and I went to my first comic book convention here in town, and I was severely underdressed. I just wore a Star Wars skirt, and that's it, with just a cute top, and I was like, I need to be wearing a full-out costume. So from that, pushed myself into cosplay, and I was already a professional seamstress, so I just started cranking out some crazy outfits. So that's kind of how I got into cosplay. The next question that Silver Ravens asks is, what advice do you have for those whose biggest obstacle when it comes to cosplay is confidence? That's so hard because I feel like I've never really met a cosplayer, whether they've been in this game for a long time or they're just getting into it, who like the most confident out of everything. All of us have our confidence issues, whether it's not liking what we're wearing or, just being around a lot of people. But my biggest advice is to push yourself, wear the thing, also surround yourself with some awesome cosplay friends and people. And you would be surprised at a convention when you wear your costume, the amount, even if you put the costume on that morning and you're like, ugh, things kind of stink, I don't know. But when you get on that floor and you see people and they like your outfit, what you're wearing, and they love the character and they want pictures, your confidence just blooms. It's quite amazing, actually, how good you can feel on the convention floor and showing off the thing that you made. So the biggest obstacle, it's confidence, but it also just comes with wearing your outfit more, getting used to the materials that you're wearing and doing photo shoots and all kinds of fun stuff. So it's tough. Everybody has confidence issues, but just get into the game and wear your outfit that you made or you purchased, and you'd be surprised how fast your confidence will go back up. So the next question we have from Charlotte is, any advice for choosing a good first cosplay? I don't know, because everybody's first cosplay is different. Some people really enjoy the making and creating process, and some people just really like to buy their stuff and kind of push it into, whatever outfit or look that they're going for. But my best advice for choosing a first cosplay is it depends on if you're going to wear it at a convention, you really need to understand the convention, how long you're going to be there, the weather, sometimes a costume that is rather cold or, a little more scantily clad and you're going to a cold convention might be a little tough to wear that. So, but as far as like choosing your first cosplay, that's kind of up to you. My first cosplay was a bathing suit that I made. It was a katana from Mortal Kombat 3. So that was my first cosplay. But if anything, it's about the character. And if you are, wanting to dive into that character, because I like cosplaying characters that I really am passionate about. And so that really helps me kind of get into the cosplay a lot more. So my advice is to actually pick a character that you really enjoy, fictional, non-fictional, whatever, wherever, and then cosplay from that. And you'd be surprised how well you kind of click into that cosplay mode. So the next question is from Simon. So what are your top tips for cosplay on a budget? I am that's really hard because cosplay can easily bloom out of budget. My biggest tip is to write stuff down, to give yourself a hard, fast budget. Even maybe make up open a little tip jar for yourself to put money in every so often, but is to write down an actual price that you want to spend. And if you go over that, make the stuff that you already have work. Research how much stuff costs before you really decide to choose the character, because you may be surprised that something looks, I don't want to say cheap, but looks less materials to create. But when you're into that, you kind of forget that you have to buy thread or zippers or a wig or boots. You look at a ball gown, you're like, oh, it's just fabric, but it could be a cage crinoline there. It could be, all kinds of a corset, so you have to really look at what everything entails. One of my favorite things to do is to create like a cosplay journal, and that's got like sketches and links to stuff that I found on the internet and writing down prices of everything before I'm like, okay, we're going to make this thing. So biggest tip, write the stuff down, price everything out first before you really kind of dive in and buy everything, and then go for buying your stuff. But it's very easy to bloom outside your budget with cosplay, I will say. Also, don't be afraid to thrift stuff. I know one of the videos that I did this week was talking about modifying actual garments that we have to work for whatever cosplays. I am a big proponent of thrifting. I pretty much thrift all of my shoes. Like, I do a lot of costumes that require like super suits, so they have a lot of boots. I don't have that many boots, so you can buy boots secondhand. You can make boot covers instead of buying an actual boot. That actually saves on cost. Join a bunch of Facebook cosplay groups, because a lot of them have trade and sell options for things, so you can get some stuff secondhand. So just don't be afraid to thrift things. You don't have to purchase everything outright, new and used, or make everything. You can purchase something and modify it. That's one of my favorite things to do with budgeting a cosplay. Let's see. The next question comes from Codename Citadel from our Cosplay Central Instagram. So what's your secret to color matching fabric when buying online? Any tips? Oh, it's so difficult. That's one of my things. I really dislike buying fabric online because I can't color match, or I can't feel the fabric. The majority, if not all, online fabric stores will have the option to buy swatches. And it may seem like you're just throwing money to the wind, but I promise you, if you purchase a swatch and you're able to see the color in different lights when you bring it to your studio, or you're able to see like fabric weights and texture, you will save you so much pain and heartache versus going with whatever your screen is telling you, because it's very difficult to get accuracy colors on a lot of photos online, and everybody's brightnesses sometimes are different within different computers. So my biggest tip is to swatch your fabrics online. I don't think I've ever run across a cosplay or a fabric online store that doesn't allow you to swatch stuff. You can swatch stuff in store as well. So just, definitely get those swatches, pay for shipping. You'll save yourself some heartache, I promise. That's my biggest secret, because a lot of these online web dealers, especially if it's eBay or something like that, I would not trust the colors that they're showing online. Next question's from Kiki. What's my favorite cosplay? That's a really difficult question because I have a lot of costumes I've made over the years, and I like them for different reasons, because wearing a costume all day, sometimes it's extremely hard to wear one of my costumes all day because I'm either in body paint or a very heavy headpiece, but yet I love that costume, but I can't wear it all day at a convention. And then vice versa, I have some that are really good all day wear, that are some that didn't take me too long to make or anything like that. But personally, my favorite costume to wear of mine that I feel the most confident and comfortable in is my Doctor Strange cosplay. I really like that outfit. It's just something with the cape. I don't know. I just feel really confident when I wear that, and I just really love that cosplay. And it's becoming one of the ones I'm known for, even though I'm more of a Star Wars based cosplayer. I pretty much do Star Wars and Marvel now. And I really truly love it. But definitely my Doctor Strange. Also, my Baby Yoda costume is now creeping up as one of my favorites to wear. It's so comfortable because it's all made from fleece. However, I sweat so much when I wear that thing. It's so hot, but it's super cute and fun to wear because everyone likes Baby Yoda. So that's my favorite cosplay. Let's see. Chris asks, any tips for competing in costume contests? I have a lot of tips on that. I've competed several times. I've judged several times. So one of my biggest tips is to watch a competition first before you even get into one, sign up for one. Because from an audience standpoint, you see what they do on stage, and it's usually like on and off, 30 seconds, turn around, unless you're doing a masquerade, which is sometimes skip-based. I don't know much about that. I've never done those, so I can only really talk for competing and what I've done, and mostly just craftsmanship ones. Watch the competition, see what they do on stage, understand if you're comfortable being on stage in front of sometimes thousands of people doing this thing. It's really intimidating, but I kind of love it. Also, another tip is to be a handler for somebody who is competing, because then you get all the backstage stuff, what happens backstage. Sometimes it can be chaotic, sometimes it can be just a breeze. So that's one of my biggest tips, is to observe the whole competition as a whole first before you compete, to see if you're ready for that. And if you're ready for that, fantastic. Document all of your work in progress pictures in a journal and make a binder, and then present that to the judges. That's one of my favorite things, when a competitor comes to me with a binder full of work in progress pictures, so I can see what they did and see the result they have, so I can ask questions about their process and how they did everything as we're judging. It's so much nicer. So that's some of my biggest tips for that. Definitely observe the contest. See if you can actually, if you're okay with being on stage and doing whatever, and then help somebody backstage to see what's going on behind the scenes. Let's see. Okay, so the next question's from Squirrel. Hey, Squirrel. Hey, I've only ever made outfits from cardboard. Think Silent Hill. Okay. What would be the best material to start with when if you're a beginner? If you're used to cardboard and you're making outfits out of cardboard already, you're pretty genius for doing that. That's a tough material to work with. If you are interested in making it depends on what you want to do, because I'm primarily a seamstress person, sewing, so I make a lot of my costumes out of fabric. I don't do big armor builds, but armor, if you are really interested in foam smithing, that's a great material to start with if you're wanting to do that route. Before you jump into stuff like thermoplastics and maybe 3D printing, understand the patterning with foam first and then cutting it out and gluing it together and sealing it and painting it. That's a great first material to start out with if you're going for that route. Now, if you're going and you're making a lot of sewing based costumes, anything. I love working with spandex and 4-way stretch fabrics. A lot of people have difficulty with that because sometimes they have a hard time. There's different needles, there's different feet for your foot. There's different ways to work with that, but fabric is all about experimenting. I would definitely recommend some sturdier non-stretch fabrics first, and then also if you want to work with stretch, work with 4-way stretch, not 2-way stretch, and use a zigzag stitch when you're stitching it together, and then you'll be surprised how you do that. But I would definitely suggest foam if you're wanting to go for like an armor route, but if you're wanting to do like a sewing route, anything, just try it and go for it. A lot of people do mock-ups. Actually, not a lot of people. Everybody pretty much does mock-ups for their costumes if they're doing a sewing-based costume first, and that uses a fabric called muslin. And it's a very cheap cotton, sometimes unbleached. You can get it fairly cheap by the bolt or by the yard, and practicing with that underneath the sewing machine is a good way to kind of get used to sewing and trying out stitches. And so that's also a really good material to practice with if you're wanting to do that. Yeah, I think that's kind of it on the best material to start with. But also, Silent Hill cardboard outfit is pretty awesome. I wouldn't even know where to start. So well done on that one. The next question comes from Kimberly, and it is, how much time do you put into building your cosplays and how to effectively plan this around work, school, and family? Oh, tough question because time management is something I struggle with. How much time do you put into building your cosplays? It depends. My personal time is I build things that require like months and weeks of stuff. I don't really stretch something out into like a week or two builds. I think the last thing that I made that was really short on time was my Baby Yoda outfit, but that was just a top and a skirt, and I think it took me like a week. Most of my cosplays require weeks and sometimes months. So personally, how much time I put into it is question mark. It's all depends on how, I don't like to rush stuff. If there's a deadline, I will really try hard to stretch out my research and building and designing phase to try to get everything nailed down. So when it's time for me to make something, I feel confident on the journey that I'm doing versus just jumping into something and then being like, I don't know what to do. I will make the time management there for everything to flow nice so it's not too crunched. But that's a tough question because it's all depends on, what you do, what your lifestyle is, but how to effectively plan around work and school and family, that's really hard too. I work a 9-to-5. Cosplay is not my full-time job. So I only get maybe 2 hours in an evening before I'm exhausted and go to bed. But I really treasure like my Saturdays and Sundays to give like 4 or 5 hours to cosplay. And if that's all you can give to cosplay, that's great. Sometimes it's family and life and work and school comes first, guys. This is cosplay. It's a hobby for most. If it's your full-time job, then that's your management. It's different than mine. But I try to tell myself, give myself time away from the studio and up here because it's a lot. And I can get into a cosplay and that's all I consume. And sometimes it's not good for up here. So putting some self-care days or some days to where I'm like, it's a Saturday, I'm not going to work on cosplay is totally fine. If you're working around a deadline, that's different. Mark out how many hours a week you want to work on something and also how fast you work on stuff because I sew fairly quickly, but if I'm doing a foam build, I take forever on that. And so if I can manage if I know my prop that's made out of foam and Worbla is going to take me the longest, maybe that's something I'll do first, get that out of the way, and then I can expedite the rest of the stuff, and it goes much, much faster. But just remember that cosplay is not something that needs to be your entire life. If it is, great, but also remember, rent is good to pay for. Pay your rent before you buy your fabric kits. So just remember, there's life outside of cosplay, and it will make you much, much happier. Trust me. So the next question comes from Samantha. Hello. What would you say is the most important skill or skills for a cosplayer to work on developing? I might be biased, but I personally think the most important thing to learn is sewing, because I firmly believe, now there are some out there, I know, I firmly believe that the majority of cosplays require a sewing aspect of some sort. If you're making a full armor build, you're going to have something to attach the armor to, so it's probably going to be some kind of suit that you're making. So in my opinion, if you are wanting to get into cosplay, is to learn how to sew. And maybe that's by hand, maybe that's using grandma's sewing machine, but if you can get the basics down of learning how to sew, you will find yourself very familiar with a lot of other terms like patterning and other creation before you kind of get into doing other materials. I started out as 100% seamstress. Like, I've never worked with foam before. I've never done 3D printing, thermoplastics, wig work. I never did any of that, but I learned how to sew first. So I learned how to build a foundation, and then I built upon that. So personally, that is my most important skill I think people should learn, is sewing. But as far as developing, I really think developing skills aside from crafting is time management. Time management and research is some skills that I think a lot of cosplayers need to work on more, because we can get into builds, and like I answered earlier, they can just consume us like a lot. And if we can't step away from that, you know, that's kind of dangerous. But as far as like other crafting skills, I find I really need to get better in foam work personally, but that's just me. I find wig work is another great skill if you do a lot of characters that have hair and you are buying a lot of wigs, but you're just like, I don't know how to style these. Sitting down and learning how to style a wig and getting that down will make you feel fantastic, and it comes with practice. Wig work is not something that all of us jump in knowing, and it is a skill that you definitely develop over time, but it's a skill that I think is one of the most important ones, especially if you wear a lot of wigs. The worst thing is to get to a convention and your wig is so sad, and all you need to do is just tease it up and spray it a little bit, or if you're it's something that I feel a lot of people can nail an outfit right, but sometimes if the wig isn't like their idea of like perfection, they have a hard time feeling really confident in their outfit. And so don't forget about this up here. You know, even if it's your own hair, styling it just a little bit and getting used to doing different styles will help you feel way confident in your cosplays. So I really do suggest people, no matter what you do, learn a bit of wig work, read about it, know the differences between, or know what a synthetic wig does and how to style it versus if you're buying and you're spending a lot of money for a human hair wig, like how to take care of it, because these things are expensive. And so you don't want to just wear it once and throw it away. It's definitely something to keep working on. So the next question is from Achu. Hello. What's your dream cosplay if time and money weren't a factor? I love this question because I swear I think it changes like every year. It's tough because I've actually done a lot of my dream cosplays, which have been like Queen Amidala outfits. I've made 2 of them, and I want to keep making more. If time and money weren't a factor, I would love to make more Queen Amidala outfits. But I also would like to make or buy. Actually, I'd probably buy this. Captain Phasma from Star Wars Force Awakens. The whole silver stormtrooper look. I think that is a commanding look, and I love outfits to where you can just put yourself into a costume and no one sees what you look like underneath. I think those are really cool. But Stormtrooper kits are very expensive, and especially ones that are styled differently like Captain Phasma. So honestly, that would be definitely one. Kimberly asks, how long do you wear your cosplays for? After a while, do they tend to get a bit uncomfortable? Do you have a backup plan? At a convention, yeah, it just depends on what I'm wearing. Most of my cosplays are about a 4-hour wear, 4 to 5. Some of my cosplays like Baby Yoda or my Yennefer or some outfits that don't have a lot of props to hold or bad functionality, I will probably wear all day. It doesn't bother me. The one thing that gets me the most are my feet. If I'm wearing shoes that are heeled, my feet are dead. So that honestly kind of determines sometimes how long I wear an outfit, but usually about 4 to 5 hours. And then my backup plan is get into regular street clothes because sometimes I'll pack an outfit that's kind of a bend or like a bound of an outfit, like a Disney bound. But it's usually my feet that hurt a lot, so I usually try to get into comfier shoes, and that makes me feel a lot better. The next question is from Grog. Hello. Is it realistic for new cosplayers to be able to put together a basic cosplay in less than weeks or months, you mentioned? Yeah, it just depends on your skill set and how fast you can put through stuff and how much time you put on it. My last build was Ahsoka from Tano from The Mandalorian. It took me 15 weeks to make it. But the thing was that it required a lot of stuff. I mean, I had to make a lot. But honestly, I think it's extremely realistic and totally fine to put something together in weeks, in less than like 2 weeks or something like that. I've done stuff. I've seen people do bigger builds less than 2 weeks. Now they are slamming a lot of time into it, but it depends. And if you are crunching, know that maybe you're going to be eating a lot of ramen to get through it and crunching on it. But it's definitely doable. You could do it. I know I've done some that I've put together. One time I did make a cosplay that was a 1-day build. That was hard, and it was just a dress. I think it was my Sabrina Spellman from the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. All I did was make her red dress with a little lace collar, and I purchased the fabric, prepped the fabric, cut the fabric, sewed the fabric, fittings, all in 1 day. That was very difficult. I don't suggest it, but some people like it, so that's up to you. But yes, so that was the last question that we have for today. Thank you guys, everybody who has sent questions to the chat and chatted about stuff. This has been really fun. I really hope you guys enjoyed my previous videos throughout the week from the Metaverse, and just definitely want to thank ReadPop for having me on and be able to talk to you guys. Once again, I am Jedimanda. You can find me online pretty much everywhere: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I have a YouTube where I do weekly vlog series on the costume that I'm currently making. I just finished Ahsoka, so that was a 15-week vlog series on how to make Ahsoka Tano, and I'm getting ready to start the Scarlet Witch. Also, I have a book that I released called Creative Cosplay that I don't have in my hands right now. But you can find that on my website if you are interested in starting into cosplay and you want a nice tangible book to read, how to start sewing, how to market yourself as a cosplayer, how to understand competitions, how to, know the difference between a bunch of different fabrics. I have a cosplay book called Creative Cosplay, and you can purchase that off my website, jedimanda.com, or you can find it on Amazon and other online book retailers. So once again, I am Jedimanda. Thank you so much for coming, and I will see you all next time. Adios. Bye-bye.